Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tip, and we've got another exciting episode for you today. Today we're talking about the fantasy overview of the New York Rangers for the upcoming 2021 season. Before we get into it, guys, please leave a like, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I'd really appreciate the support. Alright, so let's jump right into the New York Rangers' lines. On the first line, we've got Chris Kreider, Mika Zibanejad, and Pavel Buchnevich. On that second line, we've got Artemi Panarin, Ryan Strome, and Kaapo Kakko. On that third line, we've got Alexis Lafreniere, Hedl, and Julien Gauthier. On that top power play, according to the coach, they're going to be using Chris Kreider, Mika Zibanejad, Ryan Strome, Panarin, and Tony DeAngelo, just like they did last season, which would leave the following for the second power play. This isn't confirmed, but this is probably what they're going to be using: Kaapo Kakko, Filip Hedl, Alexis Lafreniere, Pavel Buchnevich, and Adam Fox. Alright guys, so first on my do not draft list is Artemi Panarin. Artemi Panarin is on my do not draft list, and that's not because I don't like him as a player. I absolutely love Panarin as a player. It's more so that he's going 4th overall right now, which I think is way too high. He had one really excellent season, and that was last year. There are guys going after him that I'd much rather draft, like Austin Matthews. So to me, drafting Panarin at number 4 just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Although it wouldn't be the worst draft pick if you really like him, but honestly, there's a few guys going after him that are much better picks. Same thing with the next guy on this list, guys, Mika Zibanejad. He had 75 points last year in 57 games with a shooting percentage of almost 20%, though. There's no way he keeps that up. That shooting percentage should go down at the very least 5% this year, which would make his numbers go down, and it would make him not worth drafting him 13th overall. I'm sorry, New York Rangers fans, but this year you have 3 much better lines than you did last year. So the third line is going to get a lot more ice time because Alexis Lafreniere is on it. So there might be not as much ice time for guys like Panarin and Zibanejad to score quite as many points as they did last year. Next on this list, guys, is Tony DeAngelo, who got 53 points in 68 games last year, which is absolutely insane. He had a huge breakout, and I was one of the few people that actually predicted that last year. I scooped him up really early in the season, and it really paid off for me. Unfortunately, those numbers that he got last year are super unsustainable. An over 10% shooting percentage for a defenseman is pretty much unheard of, and it's not going to happen again this year, guys. It's just not. So to draft him where he's currently ranked isn't the worst thing in the world because he's not ranked super high, but people are often taking him a lot earlier than that, which concerns me. So if I were you, I'd stay away from DeAngelo just for the simple fact that he's just not going to do as well this year. Let the people who are uneducated and believe that DeAngelo's going to have just as good of a season as he did last year, or even better, whatever. Let those people draft DeAngelo. You can draft someone who's a little bit better with a little bit more upside. Next on this list, guys, is Adam Fox and Jacob Trouba, ranked 148 and 163. Last year, Adam Fox had 42 points, which is awesome, but he wasn't really seeing any top power play time, so there's no way he's going to replicate that kind of production again this year. I just can't see it happening. I'd rather play it safe and choose defensemen that are going to be getting top power play time. Just announced yesterday, Chicago is using Adam Boqvist on their top power play. And Adam Boqvist is going super late in drafts. So honestly, I'd much rather grab Boqvist late in the draft than waste an early round pick on a guy like Adam Fox. Just doesn't make much sense. Same thing with Trouba. Trouba had an awful season last year, so I don't know why people are still drafting him so early. Yeah, he had a good amount of block shots, hits, and even shots on goal last year, but he's not putting up the points, right? So if you're in a categories league and you need categories, fine, Trouba's okay, but he's still going pretty damn early at 163, and he's really not worth it. I'd rather choose a guy that's going to get you some more points than Jacob Trouba. And this year, it doesn't look like he's going to even get any power play times, so that point production is not even going to get better. It's going to get worse. So I'd rather stay away from Jacob Trouba for that reason. Alright guys, so now that we're done with our do not draft list, we're going to jump into our draft list. And first on that list, guys, is Igor Shesterkin. Last year he only had 12 games started, but he won 10 of them and he posted a .932 save percentage, which is insane. The guy is so talented. Now obviously those numbers are not going to carry in to the coming season because that would be utterly insane. He's not going to win that many games either. Like, he's not going to win 10 out of every 12 games. That's absolute insanity. but I still see him having a pretty good season. And the Rangers have a very favorable schedule when it comes to goalies. They only have 6 back-to-backs the entire season. That means Georgiev's only getting a guaranteed 6 starts for all those back-to-backs. If Shesterkin plays well enough, he should get a very, very large portion of the starts. Next on this list, guys, is Chris Kreider. He had 45 points in 63 games last year with a 15% shooting percentage, which is a little bit high, but he's playing on a pretty elite line, so he could probably keep up a number pretty similar to that. He's still playing with Mika Zibanejad, playing on that top power play, so I really like Chris Kreider this year. If you really want to get a piece of the Rangers, I'd rather grab Chris Kreider in this range than grab Zibanejad or Panarin so early. But even then, I think there are better options than Chris Kreider in this range, and I'd rather wait till a little bit later and maybe grab a guy like Pavel Buchnevich, who's going super late. Next on this list, guys, is the breakout from last year, Ryan Strome, who had 59 points in 70 games, which is absolutely insane. He had just such a good season, and his shooting percentage wasn't all that inflated at just over 11%. So Ryan Strome, in theory, can replicate those numbers. Do I think he's going to necessarily be that good? Probably not. His numbers probably will go down a little bit. But right now he's still playing on that top power play and still playing on a second line with Panarin. So I see him doing pretty good. I absolutely do not mind drafting Ryan Strome at 111. Next on this list, guys, is Alexis Lafreniere. He was the first overall pick in this past draft, and people are really excited to watch him play in the NHL. The thing is, right now he's playing on the third line with Hedl and Julien Gauthier, who are okay, but they're not exactly incredible line mates, and he's not getting time on the top power play, at least not to begin the season. Will this change as the season goes on? Probably. Lafreniere is an incredible player, and I still think he's going to really impress on that third line, that they're going to have to make some kind of lineup change to incorporate him in the top 2 lines, or at the very least, put him on the power play at some point. I would draft him and kind of stash him. I'm not necessarily playing him every night if you have other options. But I think Lafreniere might be a really good player by the end of the season, might be getting you a lot of points by the end of the season, and should carry you through your fantasy playoffs. So the next guy on my list is my must draft of the video, Pavel Buchnevich, who had 46 points in 68 games played, and he started really letting it up towards the end of the season, playing with Zibanejad and Chris Kreider. If they keep that line intact, which they are right now in the New York Rangers training camp, I think Buchnevich is actually going to have a really incredible season. The best part is he's not drafted in a lot of leagues. Pavel Buchnevich in my league did not get drafted, whereas the next guy on this list, Kaapo Kakko, did. And I think Buchnevich is going to have a pretty similar season to Kaapo Kakko, if not a little bit better, honestly, because he's shown that he can be better, whereas Kaapo Kakko hasn't quite shown that yet. I'll believe it when I see it for Kaapo Kakko. So the next guy on my list, guys, is Kaapo Kakko, and he only had 23 points in 66 games last year, but the Rangers were only using him on their third line, and he wasn't getting any top power play time at all last season. He's not going to get any top power play time this season, barring a couple of injuries, but right now he's being played on that second line with Panarin and Ryan Strome. If he can keep that spot, he's in for a much better season than he saw last year. Also, he's a year older. He's probably a lot better. He's probably trained a hell of a lot in the summer, and he's probably ready to really show what he can do as a former second overall pick. I absolutely also love drafting Kaapo Kakko at 217. Alright guys, so last but not least is Alexander Georgiev, currently ranked at 219, and he's not owned in a lot of leagues right now. He's more of a guy, I'm not saying necessarily draft him, but definitely you have to keep an eye out for him, because Alexander Georgiev could get a good amount of starts this year, depending how good Shesterkin looks, and depending how much they want to rest Shesterkin. Last year, Lundqvist and Georgiev split the games pretty evenly until Shesterkin came in. If they want to rest Shesterkin, they might give a good amount of games to Georgiev. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but it's definitely something to keep an eye out for at the beginning of the season. Alright guys, you've reached the end of the YouTube video. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. Let me know how I can improve these videos. Until next time guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.